Shadow of the Erdtree DLC for Elden Ring just launched today, and a lot of people are either jumping back into the game or starting the game up for the first time. But those jumping back in, the big question is, do I need to restart Elden Ring to enjoy the DLC or jump into the DLC? And in this video today, we're going to talk about that and go through everything. But if this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos, so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So with that being said, if you've already beaten the game, you can just go ahead and start the DLC. In fact, that's probably recommended. The DLC is created with a semi-end game character or straight up end game character in mind. But I will say, if you've not yet beat the game, or you have only beaten the game at the very beginning of the launch of Elden Ring, I would encourage you to go through on a New Game Plus or restart and go through. That's what I'm personally doing. I didn't finish before the game I didn't finish when the game came out, so I'm restarting fresh, trying to keep everything fresh in my brain. I'm just going to go right into the DLC. So if you wanted to know if you have to restart, you absolutely do not. Go ahead and either do it as a New Game Plus, or if you decided not to end your game and just continue to explore the world, you can just go ahead and do the DLC. And we'll talk about the requirements and levels and stuff like that in the video. But if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to go ahead and shut the video down and get back to enjoying Shadow of the Erdtree. Before you head out, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe if this video helps you, as those things do actually have a huge impact on my channel. And I am streaming Elden Ring on my Twitch, which you can find linked in the description and the pinned comment. But let's get started here on should you restart Elden Ring for Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. But as I said, you do not need to restart. And this is really because if you've already beaten the game and you've selected New Game Plus, or you've beaten the game and you've selected to continue wandering around the world, you are probably in the best spot to continue jumping into the DLC. So for the DLC, you need to have killed both Radahn and Mohg, M-O-H-G, however you pronounce that. And once you've done that, you are set up to jump into the DLC. That's also the prerequisites to start the DLC. But the game, or at least a lot of the reviewers or the developers have said, once you've even done those things as well, your character is probably at the stage of being okay to jump into the DLC just from a character progression standpoint. So the minimum or so level you should be to start the DLC is around level 125, 130. And it's strongly recommended that you have anywhere around 50 to 60 vigor so that you have enough hit points to deal with a lot of the real crazy stuff you're going to deal with the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. You're going to see a lot of different things in this DLC. Some different weapons, different progression systems that are not solely linked to your actual leveling. You know, you get runes and you level up your character. There are a lot of things that are tied to leveling specific types of items or what have you. So it's a progression system that exists outside of the standard progression system. That's the best way I can explain it without going into it too much. And what I will say too is, like, the DLC is huge. It's not small. It is a like 60, 70, 80 hour DLC, whatever the hell it is. It's bigger than most full games. So if you are jumping back in, it can make a lot of sense to kind of reboot yourself all the way through and choose a new ending. Remember, there are 6 different endings. Age of the Stars, Lord of the Frenzied Flame, Blessing of Despair, Age of Dustborn, Age of Order, and Age of Fracture. And through each one of those, you have to complete a different primary character's story or quest. And that entails a whole different way of playing. So if you're going through a New Game Plus, maybe you're halfway through that New Game Plus, I would say take that New Game Plus all the way into the DLC. But if you're at a point though of you haven't completed a previous playthrough, and that's what I did. I had played on PS5 and I was like, okay, maybe I'll jump back into the game on PS5 and put the DLC on that. But I jumped back into the game and I just had no concept of my character, my build, really anything. And I could have just used, a tier and completely reset myself and started back from zero. But I also couldn't remember much of what had kind of transgressed, how the relationships I had created with the characters I had talked to and which quests I had put myself so far down the line that I didn't know if it was beyond a point of no return. And I think that's an important thing to know when you're taking a look at coming back into Elden Ring if you didn't complete it, is did you maybe put yourself down, let's just say maybe you started Ronnie the Witch's quests and you went down a specific branch of it and it shut off maybe Roger or Rogier, whatever his name is, and a couple other quests. Or maybe you didn't want that specific ending and maybe you were just exploring it because the game had just come out and you didn't really know what this was doing. So I think that there's a lot of merit to restarting because it allows you to, why am I saying restarting like that? To restarting your playthrough, because it allows you to choose, maybe now that we know more about it, an actual ending you want, using a specific weapon loadout, using a specific build. When I typically play any of these From Software games, any of the Souls-like games, I almost always go with a Strength Faith build. But this time around, I'm going with Strength Intelligence, and it's completely changing the way I play the game entirely, almost maybe to a bad point. I don't know. I'm using way too much of the spells, and I think it's making me crappier. But either way, a lot can be said too about approaching different weapons and different items. I was using the Bloodhound Gang sword, whatever the one is that you get from that Bloodhound guy, the cool sword. Now I'm trying to go towards the Moonlight Greatsword, which is my favorite sword in the entire series, and that is a Strength Intelligence build. I'm trying to get the Sword of Night and Flame, which I had seen so many videos for and so many things, but by the time I actually got it, I was so far down the Faith and Strength rabbit hole that I was like, man, it's going to take me too long to get this sword online. I'll just say screw it and do it in my next playthrough. And also too, I had gone down a specific line of quests that put me away from a quest ending that I actually wanted now that I know more about the lore. So when you jump into Elden Ring, take a look at your character, sure, yeah, see what you've done, get a sense for what things you might have done. And if you're really not that far, you'll be surprised at what you remember. Having jumped back in, my playthrough on my PS5 has just over or just under 90 hours. I'm playing through now on PC. I'm hitting a lot of the bosses that I've cleared before. I'm clearing a lot of the content I cleared before. And I'm at like 22, 23 hours. And I'm almost matched up with my PS5 playthrough. And I think that's a pretty huge thing. You're going to push through a lot of the content you had already pushed through. And you're going to feel a little bit more confident going into it. And you're going to have fun because you've maybe now taken a whole entire different way of approaching it. So that when you jump into the DLC too, you can maybe take advantage of specific items you saw from the trailers or from reviews and whatnot, where people saying, yeah, here's how the fist weapons work and so on and so forth, the unarmed combat and what have you. So again, this is a super long-winded video for me just to say, no, you don't need to restart, but restart again, there it is. Restart your playthrough if you don't want to. But at the same time, I want to explain the merits of restarting if it makes sense for you, if you haven't completed the game. And even if you have, just go ahead and just start a new game plus and choose a different ending. Take advantage of it, right? Because you use or get access to maybe different runes, different well, you do get access to different mending runes, but specifically different items that you get as a result, right? Going through the Ronnie the Witch quest gets you the Moonlight Greatsword, but going through the Dung Eater quest gets you a whole different set of situations. Same thing here with Fia, Deathbed Companion, and the Prince of Death. All these things are all going to get you different items, which might then lean into the direction that you want to bring your character, which makes for a whole different build altogether. But hopefully this helps you out in deciding whether or not to make a new playthrough in Elden Ring. Make a new playthrough before you jump into Shadow of the Erdtree. I mean, the game's launched right now. I cannot play the DLC because I am not at that point of defeating Mohg and Radahn. And that's fine with me. The game's not going anywhere. And don't feel pressured, right? Don't jump into any of the videos or guides or content online that's telling you to play specific ways, to do certain things with these games. Unless you have a specific build in mind, fuck off for everything else. You paid money for a game. Enjoy it however the hell you want. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Again, hopefully this helped you out in deciding how to push through into Elden Ring and the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. But also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun action if this video helped you, like I said at the very beginning, because those things do help me out a huge, huge ton. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and take care.